Welcome to the first of the fall 2007 Holloway poetry readings. Let me just quickly announce what the upcoming events are for the semester. There are 4 readings this semester, and the other 3 are Ted Pearson and Sukyoung Lee, and that's next Thursday. So we've got back-to-back readings. And then you get a little respite. And then on October 31st, which is Halloween, but since it starts at 6:30, plenty of time to mask yourselves. Afterwards, a reading with Amiri Baraka and Michael Bigley. And then on November 15th, the last of the fall readings will be Rachel Levitsky and Jillian Osborne. We have flyers posted around, and we have a spectacular website that you could go to check out more information about the readings and the readers.
You can download the flyers there too.
Oh, and you can download the flyers. That's interesting. So this evening, the 2 readers are in this order: Charity Ketz, who is a poet currently doing graduate studies in the English department at Berkeley, and then Rae Armantrout, who currently teaches at UC San Diego, went to Berkeley years and years ago. She told me that she remembers the ladies' bathroom just down the hall as being a place that she went to hide from tear gas and the National Guard. Charity is going to be introduced formally by Cecil Giscombe, and then Charity will read, and then Margaret Ronda will come to the podium and introduce Rae Armantrout. After the reading, don't go away. We are going to have a drawing. If you have put your name on a piece of paper and dropped it into that bowl, Hillary Gravendike, who's the co-curator of the series with me, will come up here and shuffle around and draw a name out. And the lucky winner will get a book, may choose a book and have it for free. And I assume, I think I can safely promise that Rae Armantrout will be happy to sign it. So now I'm going to go away and invite my friend Cecil Giscombe to come up. Oh, and turn off your cell phone. That's why I was holding it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Ah, there you are. It's my great pleasure to stand here this evening and introduce Miss Charity Ketz, who's a first-year PhD student at Berkeley. She's also a very good poet.
Makes that sound even when I'm turning it off.
Not a problem. She's a very good poet. She's a former student of mine. She's a friend. We met on my first day of teaching at Penn State in 1998. You were an undergraduate. She'd sit off a little ways from the main table. She kept a little space about her in that classroom. And then she'd go home and write these incredible articulated poems that would stretch over the territory of a page. It'd stretch into the next page. That would pull you along, take you along with them into places that you may not have wanted to go. Over dinner last night, she said, speaking of the work of the writer's sensibility, we observe. It's what we know how to do. So these are poems that you're going to be hearing of an uncomfortable observation. They decline to avert their gaze when the going gets strange. In one poem that I hope that you will read tonight, a gardening poem titled Bone Meal.
I'm reading it.
You're reading it? Okay, great. She said, preview of coming attractions. This is what you're going to hear. She says, coming home one night, there was a new smell, bad enough to shake me from myself, and I stood watching a dark cloak of beetles, wasps, flies, pool, move from inside the torn lip, the side of the bone meal sack, unsettle in a widening arc, then spill and settle, the bag breathing with larvae. But when the poet and her friend go a little ways down the street to dispose of the bag, what stands out is this. I wanted to tell you then, she says, I wanted to tell you then not about how close we keep what sickens us because it sickens and feeds us, but how my house looked. Charity Ketz's chapbook is called Locust in Bloom. She holds degrees from Penn State and from Cornell University. She's been published, she told me last night, in journals you don't like. She's a figure skater and a figure skating coach and a choreographer. Her best rejection slip ever praised her, or damned her, or flatlined her for evoking a world of controlled madness and despair. Please welcome Charity Ketz.
Okay. I'm going to read 6 poems, and the first poems are some poems about pets. Rabbits. I thought the meaning of rabbits was death, mine torn apart by my dog. In the backyard's lemon gray, half dark, the stilted cages stunk through snow, then stunk like nothing. To lift a rabbit, cup its rib cage like a nest of umbrellas swung upward, hind parts clawing from softness to ground. My rabbit, bounding his cage, sleeted hot pee through the wire mesh when we approached, stung us fragrant and yelling to the house where mother forced us back out to the male's whipping piss and the female who clung claws to cage and shuddered under our hands pulling. Inside the house, my mother, who once followed my father to a business dinner, her eyes blued up to brows, paraded our vinegared carpet in her faux gauze dress, winking its shiny stripes, heartfelt as a vine. Mother, who yanked my arms through the snowy parking lot, told me I'd be raped because a man saw me laughing behind a steakhouse. Mother, who gave us fur coats for their soft stroking, whose single nights of eyeshadow arched over her gaze. You don't know, she said, what's in a man's mind. We made them mate, father and daughter, or let them into the yard at once, while my father pinned my arms for trying to stop it. I screamed at the sliding glass, and Mother hissed into the dirty curtains that tangled me that I could shut myself in my room if I did not want to watch. The females hunch and sprint while the male tirelessly climbed her back. The next day, my rabbit still cut the air with his piss, and my brother's female shuddered as I poked through her cage the half-slimed lettuce, good enough, Mother said, for an animal. Oh, Mother, who stroked on circles of rouge, the feel of your rib cage like hairpins in my hand. Mother, who feared your food wasn't cooked, who flinched when a waiter came. The babies curled like worms, dusted in fur that blew back and forth in the sleeting wind. Every day we went to see them, huddled and lifeless under the rabbit who didn't nudge their clutched forms. Then one night they were gone. Mother said the female took them all inside of her. So in case that's not totally clear, I don't normally explain, but she ate them. Okay. Fear of horses. I'm afraid of horses' hooves shuffling madly when they don't want their feet picked, when they don't want. I lean hard against a horse's shoulder so it stands 3-legged plus me while I scrape. If you can't tack a horse, you will never bless another body, your touch always grossly careful, a stranger over strange terrain. The Mongols rode light across a continent, slashing their horses' veins to feed themselves, horses who bit their masters' foes. I couldn't break a horse, couldn't find its panic points, bend the neck like a muscled stump to its place of no leverage, so kindness is power. I will give the horse back its head tossing. I trace my fingers up and down the horse's swirls, damp as peat dust. An angry horse banging its head against the stall because of a spider put out its own eye. The stable girl couldn't bear a patch the eye had dangled. Dear horse, smelling like nothing but horse, wants to be its own hooves. In the beginning, there was no horse and rider. No one could say, he's testing you, when the horse leans a hind leg harder onto your boot. To the banks of the Kalka, the Mongols rode, coming from, going to, every human place to lay down planks. The villagers lay down for the platform built on top of them. The Mongols got on, and their horses. Put your finger in the horse's mouth. It'll take the bit. Okay, that's the end of the pet poems. The next poem has an epigraph by T.J. Clark. There is no other side to things, and that's from Farewell to an Idea. Peanuts. Standing in line with a fistful of food stamps, my mother's face in the grocery line pinked from scrubbing the way I pictured it, not how anyone else would have seen themselves, mirrored in her exposure, not for poverty, but sex. Before marriage, my mother didn't give in. Anyone who plays by the rules dies like anyone. Wedding night satisfied her inability to choose after 2 days of travel and snapshots. A wedding night is public, she is public. He puts his hand on her back. Each sister, mother, deacon crowds in to witness, and she lies on the couch. In years after, she tells me the story of once-a-week ice cream she forfeited that first winner of bills to buy him a jar of Xmas nuts, because everyone should have something to unwrap, even if it's peanuts. Then he's angry at the squander. Don't fucking spend the rest of your life, I say to myself in the story of the thing. Newly pregnant, my mother set mayonnaise, green beans on the conveyor before the scrutiny of the store. Every graced can she was willing to buy cost someone her explicit need. She won't remember telling me marriage was not like what she never said, not like what I think, acquitted of ignorance, like the woman in the newspaper story who didn't go down to the basement where her husband cut up women because she knew something else might be attached to her refusal to go, like my lover who repeated, "Don't tell me, I'm happy. Stupid, how stupid can you be?" Mother's black lacquer closeted chest for the wedding gown she sewed until the day, and my dolls given by her, chaste, repelling. A doll can't be undressed past plastic. Every repulsion's an admission. Imagine everything is a story. No first Christmas when he gets her. Nothing repeated by my aunts in hints of what their men had done. They whispered pity, wanting to lose or not lose credibility more than anything, to tell and so never know. My mother slips into something comfortable, the long silence, the orange and green rummage couch they keep in their basement for years, their school children swinging bags into the story. How stupid can you be to walk down those dark stairs alone? With a handful of green beans, a woman pauses on the landing. What she doesn't know breaks like any chaste thing by repelling her own replica of the world, telling the policeman it was not like what he thinks. There was no other side to things, no desire to lose her own. Okay. At the beach. To be able to despair in having a body, but not to despair. My mother and I go out into the waves which break gray, scraping ourselves from ourselves. Someone needs anointing. On the shore, my father stands, his hair sheeting up in the wind. Boys race through foam at his feet. The ocean never finished with its bits or the tangled depth of its spit, its slipped fall lawful. Be done with speaking then, despair of having a body. A resisting thing severed, lunging under gulls, testing its surface. Like a conveyor slid back. I enfold myself, I lose myself. In the deep, all slate an enormous rift in an instant's blanched sides swilling with others, not raptured, not ruptured, but buoyed and lost. We turn our back on the clapboard's promise of a deep center's weeping. On the shore, my brother's blued fingers, his teeth driven with sand, swaddled or huddled, what once anointing in the ripping wind. To dive into the bulge, all law of despair, though having a body, pushing self through hole, crushed to parameter, to what won't be dissolute, an elude glancing, hands reach down to an unstroked horizon. The reluctant eddy twirling through sand, blasted by sand. worshipful over impossibility. Silken mantas flutter without forming any despair. Take hold of this, the whole beach branched at my father's back, all of its reserved breath spanned behind his undershirt, and all the matted chests of men undone, a horseshoe crab lifted by one, for the children who peered into its slow roach waving. To fasten on that supposition, my body braced, helmetless, prehistoric panic of legs and limbs uplighting. They test it with a stick, see if it anoints our despairing, to have a body and flip it back to sea. The gulls slid away on the current that swings over my mother and joins her with moss and filtered weeds broken seethe. Large as a cloud spread through the hole. We emerge shrunk in sticking skin. My father stands like the hour on the edge, law falling to law. Come out, sleeper, come out. Okay, now the bone meal poem. So maybe everybody knows this. Bone meal is, you take the bones of animals and you grind it up and you stick it in the dirt and it makes stuff grow. That's what you do back east. Okay. Bone meal. Outside the house, an animal must have clawed through a bag of bone meal my mother swore by as the reason her Japanese dogwood was sheathed in blooms down to the rain gutter on one side, the driveway on the other. Coming home one night, there was a new smell, bad enough to shake me from myself, and I stood watching a dark cloak of beetles, wasps, flies, pool move from inside the torn lip, the side of the bone meal sack, unsettle in a widening arc, then spill and settle, the bag breathing with larvae. It's hard to know what will be enough. I delivered to the bag an entire bottle of Raid, then other bug spray, then bleach. The bag sprayed like a fizzing soda, splayed beetles waddling and running. New bugs surfaced for air. Some headed away, didn't die. I thought maybe a raccoon had chewed through the thick covering. Sometimes an animal will eat anything. When my friend came over, she said it was time to call the fire department. The stench shimmering with gnats was unbearable. How did I bear it? Oh, I don't know, I said. I don't use my front door. So she put a dry ice box in a trash bag, and we lifted the whole mess inside that with snow shovels. Some of the pinkish ooze spilled tiny lifeless worms onto the sidewalk. Humid night and a smeary yellow moon out when we wheeled the thing down to a neighbor's sewer in a wheelbarrow. No one was awake, we thought, but the neighbor saw us dumping something. It tumbled down his hill to the drainway. He turned his lights on. We turned our wheelbarrow. I wanted to tell you then, not about how close we keep what sickens us, because it sickens and feeds us, but how my house looked from a far street, the searchlights tunneling, spreading through the haze, past the stakes holding up the snap peas. My friend's hand was swollen and itchy from a bug bite, but you were gone. Last poem. Irradiate. A whistle like anything moving past anything moored, my ear trembles in its own likelihood. Gulls off of plyboard and Ferris wheel spokes. All echoes. Your breath makes my thoughts stop. A fence leaning into it, a stone spinning, headless in surf. Like any horizon, gray falling back on pink and gray. We resolve each other, marking the air, listening to pitches drawn up into less than a single tremor. You said you keep missing me, what you know of me, what whirls like hornets, tumbling with glare. Their struck hive carried apart, what throbs the frame. You're not the tone a trick in my head mimics like a bicep curl rocked into its own pattern, not some disappearance bubbling into sand, but beneath detection and above it. Thanks.
Rae Armantrout has written 9 meticulous, paradoxical, breathtaking books of poetry, including Next Life, just out from Wesleyan, Up to Speed, Veil, The Pretext, and Made to Seem. Atilos Press has published her prose memoir, True, and a collection of her early poetry is forthcoming from Green Integer Press next year. She is the subject of a book of essays and poetic responses to her work, A Wild Salience. In an interview, Armantrout says that, quote, the job of the poem and the job of the dreamer both are to figure out how things relate, how things fit together. Here, the poem, like the dream, discovers associations as it unfolds, its logic metonymic and processual rather than determined in advance. Things fit together in unexpected, startling ways as contexts are layered, condensed, mislaid. And as in a dream, the poem doesn't add up to a single meaning, but instead tracks the search for meaning itself down strange corridors and vestibules. A poem from Next Life imagines meaning as our Daphne, fleeing like the nymph down the passage of resemblance. Armantrout's poems examine our persistent desire for coherence and continuity, and how such desires find themselves frustrated, or at least rechanneled. Can a dreamer outwit her dream? One poem asks. Not on a first date. Armantrout has often been described as a poet of thoroughgoing skepticism, honing in on the distortions and banalities that suffuse our language, thought, and dreams. This poetics of doubt subjects everything to scrutiny, including the act of scrutiny itself and the consciousness engaged in it, which in turn produces a sense of radical estrangement. Just a quick trip back to mark the spot where things stop looking familiar, she writes, as if a poem is a retracing of steps through the unknown toward an infinitely receding familiar. Armantrout never allows this estrangement to resolve, to harden into a critical remove from the textures of everyday life. We can see this in part of a poem titled Almost. When size really counts, the billboard says, showing the product tiny in one corner, so we need to search for it. Come find me. I stand behind these words. Here, the language of advertising strategically overwhelms its product, inducing the consumer to search for the real object behind the words. But who is speaking in the poem's last lines? Who or what stands behind these words? A product? An authorial figure? This hidden I is at once constituted and shrouded by these words. Its beckoning for us to come find me is at once an intimate, almost forlorn gesture and a marketing ploy. And it is this irreducible double gesture, this refusal to sacrifice either the enigmatic lure of this hidden voice or the awareness of its wholly compromised state, that typifies Armantrout's singularly unsettling skepticism. She not only confounds our expectations, she confounds expectations we didn't know we had. Throughout her poetry, Armantrout meditates on the dark matter of consciousness, its gravitational pressures and elusive presence. Her new book, Next Life, furthers this inquiry into the essential mystery and unknowing or half-knowing through which thinking emerges. She writes, as planets and protons invent themselves by spinning, so a mind turns on itself in a body's dark space. The deep pleasure of reading Armantrout comes in part from observing the vertiginous spinning of her mind as it turns on itself. It is our great good fortune to hear some of this generous and generative inventiveness tonight. Please join me in welcoming Rae Armantrout.
Thank you for that introduction. I was especially amazed that you mentioned dark matter because you compared my writing somehow to dark matter because that's actually the title of my new manuscript that I'm working on. So that was prescient. But since Vale is for sale here, my selected, I thought I'd pick one poem and read it. The Way. Card in pew pocket announces, I am here. I made only one statement because of a bad winter. Grease is the word, Greece is the way I am feeling. Real life emergencies or flubbing behind the scenes. As a child, I was abandoned in a story made of trees. Here's the small gasp of this clearing come upon again. Now I'll read some poems from Next Life, which is the newest book. Fight with my Post-its. Okay, 2-3. Sad fat boy in pirate hat. Long old dented copper-colored Ford. How many traits must a thing have in order to be singular? Echo persuades us everything we say has been said at least once before. Two plump bald men in gray t-shirts and tan shorts are walking a small bulldog, followed by the eyes of an invisible third person. The Trinity was born from what we know of the bitter symbiosis of couples. Can we reduce Echo's sadness by synchronizing our speeches? Is it the beginning or end of real love when we pity a person because in him we see ourselves? Thing. We love our cat, for her self-regard is assiduous and bland. For she sits in the small patch of sun on our rug and licks her claws from all angles. And it is far superior to balanced reporting, though, of course, it is also the very same thing. Empty. The present must be kept empty so that anything can happen. The Queen of England visits Amanda's hot tub as a prophylaxis, a discrepancy between one's view of things and what comes to pass. It's ironic when something has a meaning to someone. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go right now. Other than that, intended by the speaker, sings the bladder control model from the fidgety TV above the dying woman's bed. It's ironic when a set contains no elements of a person frivolous, of a body shrunken. The subject. It's as if we've just been turned human in order to learn that the beetle we've caught and are now devouring is our elder brother, and that we are a young prince. I was just going to click on Phoebe is changed into a mermaid tomorrow when suddenly it all changed into the image of a citizen watch. If each moment is in love with its image in the mirror of adjacent moments, as if matter stuttered, then, of course, we're restless. What is a surface, we ask, trying to change the subject? Reversible. Try this. Shadows of leaves between shadows of Venetian blinds bounce like holes across the scroll of a player piano. But are similes reversible? Try this. Trunk of a palm tree as the leg of a one-legged ballerina. That's a bad Sean Connery, but a good prince, we wake up to an empty room, addressing itself in scare quotes. Happen and now have been smuggled out to arrive safely in the past tense. We come home to a cat made entirely of fish. Sort of like one of your pet poems. This is a sort of elegy for Robert Creeley. Sort of. Framing. What you won't see today, juniper's tough skein. The rolling hummocks have grown syntax, tassels and bells for careless wings to be among. The tick in articulation. The present is cupped by a small effort of focus, its muscular surround. You're left out. In part, pray to Persephone, dread queen of being changed totally. The god specialized back then, the way one part of the brain controls the hands while another controls crying. One says this in a dream, which is really a speech she receives an award for as she gives it. Resting briefly in the form as given, 3 doves on a high-rise ledge. Everything sparkles and then doesn't. What can description do? The dream, a froth of syllables and lights, a lost girl, cross-section of a girl, who floats on the surface, tension between bed, rock, and rising. Make it new, shaking the parts of speech like fluff in a snow globe, the way sleep scrambles life's detritus. Each poem says, I'm desperate, then everything must go. To hear something familiar here leads to careful laughter. Go where? The steady pressure on the accelerator can be stipulated in advance, as can the stubby bushes, blurred in peripheral vision. And someone will have set down a diner or a gas station at a desolate crossroads and tried naming it to evoke the whole human situation while satirizing the impulse to do so. What that name will be is the one thing we don't know. Ins and outs. The necessary fiction that, if I live inside you and you're part of me, we're spread safely thin. Gauzy. Are you defiantly frilly, evasively frilly, forgetfully frilly? You're brilliantly ragged in this aquarium light, in your getting somewhere costume, your red ins and outs rippling, for the meanwhile, in the time being. Yoo-hoo. Sun lights up a pelt of dust on the receiver. Being unexpected, this is a kind of call. Cross names out, and things are all made up of contrary, percussive, adjectival tugs. I remember someone wrestled an angel, a signal. The present's chronic revision, which a poem reenacts. The open vowel peekaboo pelvis through which you came into this world sits on the shelf in a mausoleum now, world on either side of it. Next life. Last of all and most reluctantly, you said goodbye to near and far away. fuzzy-minded clouds sprout from one another's foreheads, but you were more exact. You unzipped yourself in the dark back there, counted yourself in half, and cut. That was before numbers. Don't be a commodity, be a concept, a ghostly configuration of points or parts, trivia snippets, which appears inside locked cabinets. Be untraceable, but easy to replicate. Be relative, be twice as far and halfway back. I get some of my material from commercials. And don't be a commodity, be a concept was in a commercial. I can't remember for what. Okay, now I'm going to read from a manuscript called Versed, which is supposed to come out in 2009. This is the title poem. Versed. The self-monitoring function of each cell, writ large, personified, a person. The issues of the day are mulled steadily by surrogates. Metaphor forms a crust beneath which the crevasse of each experience, traversed by robotic surveyors. Mother yells, "Good job," when he drops the stick. Good job when he walks in her direction. Address. The way my interest in their imaginary kiss is secretly addressed to you. Without intention, prongs of ivy mount the posts supporting the freeways. It would be possible to say each leaf circumscribes hope, or that each leaf, fastidiously coming to one point, suggests a fear of the unknown. These glossy, laced-up, high-heel boots, each leaf addressed to you. Operations. This child fights cancer with the help of her celebrity fan club. Says, now I know how hard it is to be a movie star. Hey, my avatar's not working. This small hawk on a wire above tangled flowers. Speech too was thought to be inhabited by a god. Then hunger invented light. Name-calling. Objects are silly, lonesome, as the word ow is. Could we grant them a quorum? Dense with the shiny glossolalia of the leaves, the resilience of open-ended questions? Bud-nipped, what the pudendum attempts to pinch off, tries repeatedly, what comes to be called pleasure. Locality. Is it nummy? Yeah, huh? Songs as empathy evacuation engines. It's not that I wish to pledge slavish devotion as the singer seems to do. It's not that I want to be the object of such attention, but I'll listen to this song again and again. Where you put them, did you, for instance, those window bars reflected in sunglasses upside down between remotes? Wires dip obligingly between blanched poles, slightly askew. Any statement I issue, if particular enough, will prove I was here. Scumble. What if I were turned on by seemingly innocent words such as scumble, pinky, or extrapolate? What if I maneuvered conversation in the hope that others would pronounce these words? Perhaps the excitement would come from the way the other person touched them lightly and carelessly with his tongue. What if of were such a hot button? Scumble of bushes. What if there were a hidden pleasure in calling one thing by another's name? And I think there is. Worthwhile, a rod, a list, a mop-top palm cut out against sunset, chocolate pastries in the shape of pyramids, an elderly bent figure beneath a feathered Stetson. Terry fears she may be risking her job as an afterlife consultant. Melinda is comforted by Jed when she twists her ankle trying to evade an angry ghost. Unanswered questions change things between Booth and Bone. A string of raindrops dangling from an iron bar reveals opportunities for clarity. At the breakfast table, Mary's dead parents become impatient when she counts the wad of small denomination bills they presented her with on her birthday. New. If yellow is the new black, the new you is a cartoon spokesman who blows his lines around bumptious 3D Hondas, apologizes often, and remains cheerful. The new pop song is about getting real. You had a bad day. The camera don't lie. But they're lying to you about the camera. Since Fallujah is the new Antigua, sunlight nibbles on pre-charred terrain in the electric fireplace. Links. Evening succeeds evening. Demons discourse on familiar topics. They describe a wraith's response to a description. I think he was signaling. One night differs from all other nights through their deployment of synonyms. Craft a way forward. Get out ahead of this with his plan. Aren't you exhausted? You green spear, you peel back purple, all divided column, all split hair, mirrored and recounted for. You've been crossing every with only, going to any mandible or bud. Birth order. You're it. It is, you are, an error with an arsenal of disguises, with a system of incorporation built in, with enmity, with direction. What have you got to lose? This gray tile roof, gray sky scored by power lines, this framed measure of distance as intimacy. Shadows of fingers, mine, move across the white page. Anyone could write this, that word, this, firstborn, unnecessary. Translation. The thing that makes us human, monkey see, monkey do, speed up. A call to mimesis now comes from everywhere at once. The cumulus and the white flash from under the mockingbird's wing make what? Repeat wake measurement. Check to see, birds say, that enough time has passed. That would be a good place to stop, but I have to go on and read a little bit of my new manuscript, Dark Matter, that I'm working on. Around. Time is pleased to draw itself out, permit itself pendulous loops, to allow them meaning, this meaning, as it goes along. Chuck and I are pleased to have found a spot where my ashes can be scattered. It looks like a construction site now, but it's adjacent to a breathtaking rocky coast. Chuck sees places where he might snorkel. We're being shown through by a sort of realtor. We're interested but can't get her to fix the price. The future is all around us. It's a place, any place, where we don't exist. Dark matter. Who am I to experience a burst of star formation? I know this, after the first rush of enthusiasm, any idea recedes and dims. Each one is the inverse shape of what's missing. One might try summing the matter up in a single Judas kiss, all bittersweet complicity and feigned ignorance. Unbidden. The ghosts swarm. They speak as one person. Each loves you. Each has left something undone. Did the Palo Verde blush yellow all at once? Today's edges are so sharp they might cut anything that moved. The way a lost word will come back unbidden. You're not interested in it now, only in knowing where it's been. Had. And so I ask, do you need both skies? I say keep jets and its consistent. I suggest again that you strip down while remaining calm. It may be that reclining lessens the pressure or presence, but there are still sensations to be considered. No, not considered, dealt with. No, not dealt with either. Had, perhaps, but with no rights of possession, no sense of constituting past. Simple. Let me start again. Okay. Simple. Complex systems can arise from simple rules. It's not that we want to survive, it's that we've been drugged and made to act as if we do. While all the while, the sea breaks and rolls painlessly under. If we're not copying it, we're lonely. Is this the knowledge that demands to be passed down? Time is made from swatches of heaven and hell. If we're not killing it, we're hungry. In place. We've been seated in the afterlife. Here, it's a good night when the impala sprints off. A good night when the pride rips at the carcass. Be the one, be the one, be the one, pulses from the four corners of Starbucks. At bottom, where position joins conjecture, we posit. We stand on one foot, swaying in fresh fog. Solution. A solution is found when creatures from the last ice age band together to survive. Circumstances spin like a mobile above a baby crib. Follow along with an endearing first person, a penguin. You won't get far. You're the thing that waits, to trap each passing thought, the anxious blank that God loves. Resounding. Are you still interested in the image of this island as a brown shoulder or breast half hidden by clouds? Are you turned on by chimeras, the impossible woman, part igneous, part surge? Go be embedded, beaded, pebbled, the fickle luster, that's right, the fretwork of disaster. Go on, be half shrouded by. The racket. It's as if the real thing, your own absence, can never be uncovered. Each actor's face seems to have survived the same brave battle to remain in character. They're posed on the rubble used to indicate the past. It turns out this is heaven. In the present, cancer sets up a free market in your gut. The fog lifts and the birds start in. Each works to replace itself with a bit of racket. Slip. As if we know what bliss is. This lozenge dissolves, purple and pink, a warm largesse, into the cool sea. I want to catch myself, if only in the wrong, as if in the nude, in a recurring dream. Concentrate. The point at which you can get your eyelids to drift, tethered like seaweed, by thinking about it. Then imagine yourself eyeless. The spontaneity with which a bubble breaks away, flies to the surface, and pops, as if finding something out. Now, in a vacuum, with virtuals as probes, or as little alarms going off. Okay, just 3 more, as I'm getting tired. Pass. Single cells become like-minded, forming a consensus or quorum. Bioluminescence and virulence are 2 ways we describe the feeling they share then. With effort, humans can approach this condition. Synchronized swimming has afforded me a wonderful life, says one informant. Why not? I too would like to exert power over time, to pass it aggressively, dramatically, and forget all about it until even the meaning of the word pass gets lost in a rosy glow. Passage. I held the framework of my life in mind with some precision. I knew when I was where, or where I was when, but not many incidents of my past had actually been preserved. Instead, the frame served as a cargo cult runway, forever inviting the future to appear. I existed finally as the idea of temporal extension. The creeper lineates the wall. Flowers as punctuation? Can you elaborate on the passage? Double meaning, superposition, hair standing on end, makes a creature appear larger, more ferocious. Then this will be the last one. Fact. Operation Phantom Fury. The full force of the will to live is fixed on the next occasion. Someone coming with a tray, someone calling a number. Each material fact is a pose, an answer waiting to be chosen. Just so, it says, ask again.
I'm going to press my luck here after having that wonderful reading and ask Rae to stand up here a little bit longer and answer some of your questions if you have some, which I'm sure you do. So thanks, Rae.
Can anyone think of a question? Okay.
Could you tell us a little bit about your editing process and your community of poets?
You've been reading my mail, huh? No, I do revise a lot, and I fuss a lot with things, and I have a lot of versions of things, and I send some versions of things to some of my old friends, like Lynn, sometimes, and say, which way do you like it? You know. But usually, if I do that, I'll send it to 3 people, and they'll all tell me 3 different things. So it's confusing, but amazing. I think it's amazing how many people that you think have a very similar aesthetic will tell you very different things if you ask for their advice. So there you have it. But I'm kind of addicted to doing that. It's a way of communicating with people somehow. I think still. But I some things I revise a lot, some things not so much. But they're unstable for a while, and then they kind of firm up. Okay, anybody else?
I wonder if you could speak perhaps about the how you hear some of the rhythmic qualities in your work. I mean, the most recent poems you read from Dark Matter, to me they had a more flowing, legato, rhythmic feel, and to some of the earlier work, the sentences seem to have a kind of staccato quality that, as I heard them, I was sort of aware of the silence that they were being placed into or placed against, and I wonder if there was a way that you could say something. I don't know if it's possible to do this in isolation, but if you could say something about the rhythmic qualities in your work.
Well, that's a good observation, and I'm aware of what you mean, that especially some of the poems in Dark Matter have kind of longer sentences, I guess. It might be partly the way I read it, but I think it's partly also true. And that's, you never know what's going to come out, so that's kind of not so much deliberate as just, intuitive. I guess all I can say really is that I am more than people might think. I am very aware not just of rhythm but of sound, and I like that aspect of poetry. I mean, my work's obviously very far from metered poetry, but the way something sounds when read aloud or when I hear it in my head really does matter quite a bit to me. And I just kind of go for the sort of the rhythms that attract me. But I mean, it's intuitive, so I can't really talk about it as a really deliberate process, especially as a whole. I mean, but good observation. Anybody else? Okay, one more person think of a question, and then we'll feel that there's a completeness, because 3 is always... Okay, go ahead.
There's a lot of humor in your work, so I wonder, is that something that you seek to enhance, or perhaps you're being yourself and you're really funny, so sometimes you might have to knock it down?
Well, I guess I think humor is serious in a way. I mean, humor has, paradoxically, humor has something to do with discrepancy. People find, not always, but sometimes people find discrepancy humorous. And I guess I'm interested in exploring that. People find it funny when contexts sort of jar, and jarring things are juxtaposed. People find surprise funny, but people also sort of find it funny when things come all the way back around, you know, and to where they started. So sometimes, I mean, so I think that humor is a deeper thing than we sometimes think. So I'm not reluctant, you know, to admit that there's humor in my work, because I think that sometimes the philosophical issues that interest me somehow are join up somehow with humor, if that makes sense. Okay, anybody else, or? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rae, for that wonderful reading, and thanks also to Charity Ketz for her reading. I know Lynn and I both felt really lucky and fortunate that Rae agreed to come read in the Holloway this semester, and now that you've heard her read, I'm sure you feel lucky and fortunate too. So without further ado, I'll draw for the book. Cross your fingers. Christina Hutchins. You can choose the book of your choice. I'm going to draw one more name. Charity and Rae both signed one of the promotional posters. So this will certainly be worth millions of dollars at some point. You should hold on to this. So, Anna Bladel. Are you sitting next to each other? The fix is in. All right, so thank you very much, and I hope to see you all at Ted Pearson's reading next Thursday, October 4th. Same time, same place. Thanks again.